अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय and Jai Baba to you all. I am grateful to Meher Krupa Palve and Sankalpa Meher for insisting on giving this talk on Kher Families Association with Beloved Baba. Apart from our collective memories, this association goes back to almost 80 years when it all first began, and hence this has given me an opportunity to relive those golden memories. My brother Mohan has been of immense help to me to research some old material so that I can talk to you on the basis of facts. In these stories, apart from those vivid memories, I will be making use of material from Lord Meher by Bhauji and also glimpses by Sri Balnatu. Before I begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Sanjay Kher and I graduated as a mechanical engineer from VRCE Nagpur. After this, I studied in IIT Powai for my post-graduation and subsequently worked in Tata Power companies. I have now retired from Tata Power and other professional engagements and live in Nagpur. From our family, Nana Kher was the first to seek out the blessings from Avatar Meher Baba. He was my uncle. Subsequently, through him, all our family members, including my parents Vinu Kher and Asha Kher, and my grandparents, came under the ambit of beloved Baba's love and compassion. Nana Kher needs no introduction to Baba world. Though he passed away way back in 1999, Baba lovers all over the world still fondly remember his loving embrace and greetings of welcome home, with which he addressed lovers who came to Baba's Samadhi in 1970s, 80s and 90s. Beloved Baba shared some priceless moments with my uncle and also with my parents, and I will share some of these with you today. First, let me give a short family background. My grandfather retired as a district judge and settled in Nagpur. He had two sons, Nana Kher and Vinu Kher, both of whom came in beloved Baba's close contact. Both my uncle Nana Kher and father Vinu Kher had spiritual inclination right from their childhood and were fond of reading spiritual literature. In fact, once during his school days, Nana Kher, after hearing about Sadguru Upasni Maharaj and wanting to lead a spiritual life, left for Sakori without telling his parents. Upasni Maharaj, after coming to know that the boy has travelled to him without the knowledge of his parents, lovingly but firmly told him to return after giving him blessings. Nanaji's first darshan of beloved Baba. In his college days, Nanaji came into contact with Dr. C.D. Deshmukh, who compiled and edited the first edition of Meher Baba's discourses. Dr. Deshmukh also gave him some Baba literature and took him once to listen to a talk by Princess Norina Machabili, who was one of Baba's Western Mandali. Having been introduced to Baba's literature and his teachings from two of Baba's prominent disciples, Nanaji's heart became very restless to have Baba's darshan. Encouraged by Dr. Deshmukh, Nanaji wrote a letter to beloved Baba asking him for his darshan. Baba replied through Adike Irani that he sends his blessings and that he will be called for darshan at an appropriate time. Baba advised Nanaji to be in his touch through Dr. Deshmukh and in the meantime read his books and spread his message of love and truth while he waited for beloved Baba's darshan. This happened in 1939-40. Accordingly, Nanaji began calling on some students in various college hostels and distributing booklets and sharing Baba's messages. As years passed by, Nanaji was more and more inwardly drawn towards Baba. In May 1944, Nanaji was in Pune for some work. At that time, he heard that Baba was in Nagpur and was granting interviews to those interested in meeting him. This news disheartened him and he again wrote to beloved Baba. This time he got a reply through Airaj uncle, who wrote that he was getting married in Ahmednagar and promised that he will arrange his meeting with Baba on the eve of his wedding. He also invited Nanaji for the wedding. As promised, Eraj uncle arranged for Baba's private interview at Akbar Press on 27th May 1944. Nanaji later recounted this meeting to us. The moment beloved Baba's face came into his sight, he felt an atmosphere of love and peace. He felt that he has known Baba as his own since a long time. Baba confirmed his unspoken thoughts by assuring Nanaji that I know you and I love you. Baba then inquired, "What do you want?" In the previous years, Nanaji had studied Baba's literature and he immediately replied, "I want spiritual freedom." Baba looked highly pleased with his answer and asked, "I will give you what you want, but you will have to follow my orders." Nanaji replied, "I am fully prepared to do so as you say." At this point, Baba gave a glimpse of his omniscience and said, "It is not easy to obey me. You have a quick temper, and you will not be able to obey my orders if you are unable to control it." My uncle really did have a temper and he kept quiet. Baba then gave him instructions like observing a fast and feeding a beggar with his own hands every Saturday, and repeating Baba's name for a fixed time every day and leading a simple and pure life. Nanaji promised that he would abide by Baba's instructions. Baba then asked, "Is there anything else you want to ask?" At that time, Nanaji was of marriageable age and his parents were persuading him for a suitable alliance. Hence, he asked Baba, "My parents want me to marry. What should I do?" To this, Baba replied, "What is the hurry? Wait for 2 years and I will let you know." The meeting came to an end and Nanaji was overjoyed to have his first glimpse of beloved Baba and having received first instructions from him. He was also satisfied that with Baba's answer on marriage, as he never really wanted to marry. After this meeting, Nanaji never wavered from the straight and narrow path of complete obedience and service to Baba in his entire life. Now coming to his second visit with beloved Baba. In February 1946, Baba had planned a 1-month meeting for selected spiritual workers and Nanaji was one of them. However, Baba cancelled the plan and assured all that he would individually give certain instructions to these individuals to lead a life of love and truth. Having resolved to lead such a life, Nanaji sought an opportunity to receive the instructions from Baba. In the meantime, Nanaji had utilized Baba's instructions as a shield to counter his parents' persuasion about marriage. In this period, my father got married and my grandparents were somewhat distracted from this topic. However, they still reverted to this topic frequently. Thus, Nanaji reached Adi K. Irani's office in December 1947. Baba asked Adiji to bring Nanaji to Mehrazad. Baba asked, "Why have you come?" Nanaji replied that he had come in response to Baba's circular about special instructions to spiritual workers. Baba looked happy. The first and the foremost condition is to obey. And Baba explained Nanaji about the obedience. Baba continued, "Will you do whatever I ask you to do?" Nanaji replied, "Yes, Baba." "Will you cut the throat of your father as soon as you go home if I ask you to do so?" Nanaji unhesitatingly replied, "Yes, Baba." With a smile on his face, Baba continued, "Leave that aside. Can you bring me rupees 2 lakhs for my work within 2 months? Nanaji again replied, "Yes, Baba." "How?" Baba countered. Nanaji replied, "I would go from door to door to collect the required money." Baba then interjected, "You won't be successful if you follow this method, but if you ransack a good bank, you can do it in time. You can then give the money and surrender to the police and accept the imprisonment for your theft. Are you prepared for this?" Nanaji said yes with determination. "Go and do it then," Baba ordered. At this, Nanaji immediately turned and started walking away. Baba then called him back and expressed his pleasure at Nanaji's readiness and determination. My uncle later told us that Baba was testing him for his determination to implicitly follow his orders. With these exchanges, Baba was internally strengthening his resolve to a life full of service and obedience as Baba's spiritual worker. It is no joke to lead a life of surrenderance to the avatar. I have been told by some people living in Mehrabad after Baba dropped his body that Nanaji's life of steadfast service acted as an example to them and inspired them to surrender to Baba's will. I feel the seed of this extraordinary life of service and obedience was sown by the mock test of Nanaji's obedience done by Baba in these first few meetings. This meeting did not end with mock test. Baba continued, "If you want to dedicate yourself to my cause, you must be free from all personal liabilities." Nanaji brought up the problem of a shop he owned. Baba permitted him to transfer ownership into the name of his mother. Baba then asked Nanaji to visit Ahmednagar again on an appointed day. He was told to walk the distance from Nagpur to Ahmednagar barefoot and beg for his food. He was to carry no extra clothing, only the shirt and the pants he had on. Baba also told him that without hurting the feelings of his parents, he had to tell them that he was going to stay with Baba permanently. On his return to Nagpur, it was hard for Nanaji to convince his old and loving parents to permit him to walk barefoot. They requested Baba to withdraw this order and also withdraw the order of begging for food. Baba agreed. Nanaji's hopes of living with Baba as a resident Mandali thus got an apparent setback. Then there was a change in Baba's plans. He soon commenced the new life phase, and Nanaji's hopes of meeting him and leading a life under his personal guidance seemed to have ended. But then, as happened very frequently with Baba's plans about the relationship with his lovers and Mandali, Baba ensured that sufficient amount of suspense, separation and uncertainty was built into it. As Baba has explained, uncertainty strengthens the resolve of the seeker and physical separation, in fact, helps in strengthening the bond of love. After a year and a half, Baba called him for a 2-week stay at Mehrabad in November 1952 and then asked him to accompany him on the fiery free life tour. Putting aside the disappointment of missing a chance to be Baba's resident Mandali, Nanaji rededicated himself to the work of spreading Meher Baba's message of love and truth after he went back to Nagpur. To this end, Nanaji started visiting various households in Nagpur as also local students' hostel and government offices with a view to spread Baba's name and his messages. This was recounted to me by more than a few next generation Baba lovers. Many had already heard about Baba through Dr. C.D. Deshmukh and pleader Pope Liji and his elder son Sri Ram Bhauji. Many have recounted to me in the initial introduction Nanaji gave to them in those days in the form of Baba's messages, photographs, lockets, books, booklets and personal anecdotes. This small introduction ushered a virtual revolution in their lives, and now after so many years, when they recount these stories to me, they cannot but express their deep gratitude to Nanaji. This effort culminated in the formation of Avatar Meher Baba Spiritual Center at Nagpur, which became forerunner of many such centers to be opened in Vidarbha region. The center started organizing the weekly Sahwas programs and yearly celebrations of anniversary of birthday and silence day. Subsequently, Nanaji had the opportunity to attend the program at Mahabaleshwar on 16th October 1950 when beloved Baba had stepped into old life for a single day. At the end of the meeting, the details of which I will skip, Baba went outside to bathe the Mast Ali Shah, and those at the gathering followed and witnessed the event. With this, the program came to an end, and Baba asked everyone to leave. He embraced each man again and he bid them farewell. Nanaji related that after the meeting concluded, while Baba was standing on the veranda saying goodbye, we saw an unusual glow and radiance on his face. He was very, very happy. As we departed, we could see this glow and radiance even from a distance. Now about our father's meeting with beloved Baba. Nana Kher and Vinayak Gopal Kher, Vinu as he was fondly called in the family and later was referred to by the same name by beloved Baba himself and the Mandali, were two brothers with contrasting temperaments. While both were spiritually inclined from childhood, Nanaji, the elder of the two, had a temper as we have seen. Vinu was, however, the opposite. We, his children, that is, my elder sister, myself, and younger brother, have never seen him angry. My mother relates that he had to rehearse an angry speech so that during his teaching sessions, when the occasion demanded, he could get angry. He was a meritorious student throughout his career. He did his MSc in physics and later researched and was awarded PhD. He guided a large number of research students in various fields of physics during his long academic career as a professor of physics. Naturally, Vinu had an intellectual bent of mind. In his childhood days, he was influenced by his maternal uncle, Bhayu Mama, who acquainted him with various stories from Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Srimad Bhagavat. Bhayu Mama was a disciple of Tajuddin Maharaj, and in the childhood years, both Nana and Vinu were, so to say, under the indirect influence of a perfect master. Hence, his intellect never came in the way of his firm belief in God. On the contrary, it helped him to explore the philosophical aspects of religion and the metaphysics behind the ritual and tradition. As a young scholar, while he kept an open mind, he was not the one to get easily influenced by others unless he had the conviction himself through his own experience. When Uncle Nana Kher met with Meher Baba and surrendered to him, naturally he wanted to impart the same conviction to his younger sibling. However, Vinu did not immediately embrace the elder brother's conviction. In fact, a good 8 to 10 years had to pass for Vinu to be caught in the net, so to say, of beloved Baba's love. Many a times did Nanaji ask Vinu to read Baba's literature. However, Vinu relented only after some time. When he did start reading Meher Baba's messages and discourses, the force and the clarity of Baba's words compelled his attention. He once told me that whether Baba is joking or serious, whether he is working or enjoying leisure, whether he is suffering or was in a happy mood, as can be ascertained from Baba's anecdotes, one is struck with the consistency of poise of his spiritual genosis. Eventually, Vinu's time to meet came when he was asked by Nanaji to accompany him to Mehrabad in November 1952. The occasion was beloved Baba's preparatory phase of his visit to various centers in India during his fiery free life phase. Nanaji and many other arrangement walas had been called for the arrangements regarding the proposed visit to Nagpur and Amravati and various other places in India. Vinu was dazzled by Baba's powerful presence, eloquent and ever-changing expression on his face. He was moved beyond words by the atmosphere of his love. He was surprised at the speed of his fingers as they moved on the alphabet board and almost instant translation into spoken words by Dheeraj Kaka. The effect was of instant communication which gave a lie to his silence. The fateful day was 9th November 1952. What was beloved Baba's reaction? On seeing Vinu, Baba remarked to Nana, "What a beautiful soul! Nana, your brother is quite a good man and I like him very much." This is a wonderful compliment from the highest of the high. Beloved Baba's nazar was very penetrative and he could look at the innermost being of a person in an instant. Baba once said that he sees your body only as a shadow and his attention first goes to the inner being as reflected in the color of the sanskaras. What he saw in Vinu must have brought forth this remark. Once, when our family had gone to Mehrazad, after Baba dropped his body, Baba's sister Mani also told us that Baba's mood used to change for the better on occasions when Vinu came in beloved Baba's presence. For this reason, the Mandali also were quite fond of Vinu, and Eroj used to affectionately call him Vinoba and lovingly ask, "Amche Vinoba kashe आहेत?" The Mandali's love for Baba was so deep that whichever thing or person helped improve Baba's mood used to be their favorite too. After this first darshan, Vinu was to enjoy many more such occasions with beloved Baba, and, and Vinu was present, and the Lord himself would participate. One such occasion, Baba asked Vinu, "Vinu, you are a scientist. Tell me why, in spite of wide-ranging propaganda and the effective modern means of family planning, the world population keeps on increasing." As a scientist, Vinu had no answer to this query and knew that Baba wants to explain something profound, and he is just making him a means of disclosing it. So he kept quiet. Baba then asked, "Explain." Like on Earth, there are millions of such planets where evolution has progressed to various stages of development. However, there are 18,000 Earth-like planets where evolution has reached up to human consciousness. These planets have human beings with higher intellectual powers and have therefore civilizations which are scientifically much more advanced compared to our Earth. For all this scientific advance, however, the human beings on these planets lack the qualities of heart and capacity to love. Thus, some of these 18,000 Earth-like planets with human beings developed with 75% intellect and 25% qualities of heart. Some others have 100% development of intellect and nil development of quality of heart. In contrast, our Earth has a more or less balance, that is 50% development of quality of head and heart. This is the reason that only on our Earth is the involution of consciousness possible, and our Earth is unique in the whole universe, as only on this Earth the avatars and the Sadgurus are born. In this avataric advent, people on these planets naturally unconsciously get attracted to the earth, so that their spiritual progress is facilitated just by my physical proximity. This is the reason why there is population explosion when I am in your midst. This is also the reason why in this avataric cycle, with the help of these extraordinary intellects, tremendous scientific progress has occurred, which has not occurred for past millennia. My father used to relate this conversation to us. If we look at the figures of demographic research now available, the annual rate of population history was at its peak in 1960, about 2.2 in 1963, the highest in known history. And the amazing thing is, this annual rate is rapidly declining since 1963 and is about 1.1% now. So the rapid growth of population has slowed down considerably in last 50 years, which amazes the demographers no end. As Baba has pointed out, tremendous scientific progress of this century is also unique in recorded history. Through the above discussion, Baba used to discuss many subjects with a connection to physical sciences in Guru Prasad days when Vinu was present. The kind of rare conviction Vinu had in beloved Baba was something to be seen to understood. We will continue on this in coming episode. As already recorded, beloved Baba was soon to visit Amravati and Nagpur, and in both places Baba graced our house with his presence, and soon the whole Kher family, elders and children, were to be included in Baba's loving embrace. Beloved Baba's visit to Amravati and Nagpur. I have narrated some incidents of Sahwas moments of my father Vinu and uncle Nanaji, who have enjoyed and cherished with the beloved Baba. However, It was really after his visit to our house that the whole Kher family, and especially my mother Asha Kher and grandmother Bodutai Kher, came in the ambit of beloved Baba's love and care. Through these elders and also directly during our darshan at Guru Prasad, we children were also blessed by Baba's grace. The visit to our house happened in December 1952 and January 1953, when beloved Baba planned his tour to Amravati and Nagpur as a part of his bigger plan to tour various places during the fiery free life phase. At that time, my father Vinu, mother Asha, and daughter Veena, myself and my younger brother were not yet born. They were living in a quarter allocated to them as a professor of physics in college at Amravati. Rest of Kher family, including my grandparents, my uncle Nana Kher and some relatives, lived in our house at Nagpur, which was later named as Meher Bhavan. We had the great good fortune that beloved Baba set his foot on both these houses. The visit to Amravati and Nagpur was planned by Dr. C.D. Deshmukh, Nana Sahib and Vakil Sahib Pophli, along with the Mandali in consultation with Baba. The plan was to visit Amravati from 20th December to 24th December 1952, and visit to Nagpur happened in the first week of 1953. These days were packed as usual with hectic activities of mast contacts, house visits, and visit to public institutions. As I told you earlier, our house in Amravati then was really a part of a colony bungalow allocated to my father by the college, where my father was professor of physics. The quarter was a single-story bungalow built on a big scale during British rule. There was generous space on all sides, and especially on the front side, where a large pandal had been erected for darshan and kirtan programs. Of my siblings, only my elder sister Veena was born then, and she had a grand time as she was getting cajoled and ferried by Mandali in Baba's car. As a child of 5 years, this was also her first intimate contact with beloved Baba. The fateful day when the avatar of the age was to grace the house of Vinu Kher and family arrived. Baba arrived at the pandal at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, on 21st December 1952. The morning darshan began with a kirtan performed by Jairam Bua, in the course of which he obliquely questioned Baba's silence. No one had taken notice of Jairam's inquiry, but Baba did, and he stated, "In spite of my silence, I speak through all the tongues in the world." Beloved Baba also graced us with a house visit and took some refreshments. Out of the food items specially prepared by my mother Asha Kher, Baba particularly liked Kazuchi Koshimbir, chutney as mentioned by Bhauji. Baba told her, "Asha, you make very good chutney. It is quite different and I like it very much." Beloved Baba was usually very short on appetite and partook of some small quantities only, and would generally give away his portions after touching them to someone nearby. The chutney Baba liked was really Koshimbir, a side dish made of sweetened curd and mashed cashew nuts prepared with jeera tadka. My mother, Asha, had prepared it with love and also mindful of the Mandali's instructions that the food should not give a hard bite as Baba had difficulty chewing. Beloved Baba specially praised this preparation and asked his Mandali to note the recipe from Asha. On this occasion, Baba had the conversation with Asha. He asked her with concern in his eyes, "Why do you look so frail?" My mother did not reply to this. Beloved Baba came near to her and in a loving gesture caressed her face and lifted her eyelids as doctor would do, and commented that the eyes are very anemic and lack color and vigor. After this, lovingly Baba asked her, "Do you sleep properly at night?" My mother replied, "No, Baba, I have disturbed sleep." Baba then inquired, "Why is it so? Do you worry too much?" This with an eloquent gesture touching his head. Beloved Baba had instantly seen through my mother's temperament to worry over things. Baba made another gesture implying, leave all these meaningless worries, remember me and keep me in your heart. With these words, beloved Baba wrapped her in his loving embrace. My mother remembers that she had an especially sound sleep the following night and also thereafter she slept soundly. On other occasions, when she did worry over things and situations, my father will always remind my mother of this episode. Baba himself has become a doctor for you. What is there for you to worry? Father had only two interests in his life, physics and Meher Baba. He could see only with one eye, and the functioning eye too had pigmentation on the retina and hence had limitations like central vision and limited night sight. Because of this, and also because of his nature, which can be summarized as a genuine forgetfulness of things worldly, my mother played a crucial role in the family. My grandfather was afflicted with paralysis, and grandmother, while active throughout her life, could always count on my mother in her old age. Mother had a remarkable capacity of managing all her responsibilities in our joint family. My grandparents and also my father and uncle could always depend on her for practical necessities. Besides the family responsibilities, she proved to be a perfect partner to my father and also my uncle's activities concerning the Meher Baba Center at Nagpur in the years to come. Nothing is ever hidden from the all-knowing one, and beloved Baba during this introduction planted a seed of love in her heart and also in future interactions carefully nurtured this love in my mother Asha. With this, he sustained her in her many endeavors throughout her life in years to come. As with countless others, beloved Baba has entered her heart unknown to her. Baba was to remember her on many occasions in future, and this we will see in the next episode. After a gap of 10 days, Baba then visited our residence at Nagpur. Here also, Baba was staying in another bungalow nearby, and Baba graced Meher Bhavan for a visit to take lunch. My grandmother Godutai Kher had made so many variety of main and side dishes for lunch, and Baba observed, Godu, you have made so many dishes. My appetite is full even looking at these dishes on the plate. Baba then proceeded to eat a little from all the dishes and appreciated each, praising the preparation all the time. My grandmother was really a very good cook and loved to feed people and remembered everyone's favorite dish. In the midst of meal, Baba observed, where is Asha? I do not see her. My grandmother replied, Baba, she is in the house only and arrived from Amravati to prepare for your visit in Nagpur. Baba then asked, why don't I see her? Our grandmother then could no more avoid this direct query and had to tell Baba that Asha was in self-isolation as was the custom then during women's monthly period. Baba then said, it may be in your custom. I don't follow such customs. Bring her out of self-isolation as I want to eat the side dish she had prepared at Amravati, which I liked very much. Our grandmother had no other option but to bring Asha in front of Baba. It was a mini revolution for our traditional household for a woman to prepare a food item for God Himself at such a time because of false ideas about purity. When my mother came in front of Baba, he said, Asha, what do you take me for? I am the ocean of purity. Even if you throw all the impurities in the world, my ocean of purity will remain pure as ever. Go prepare the dish you had prepared at Amravati, which I liked very much. How fortunate my mother was to receive such loving admonishment. She then prepared what Baba demanded, and Baba ate it and embraced her with love. The avatar comes to establish a new order which is free of old prejudices, customs, and practices which have become irrelevant in our age. One reads that Baba has repeated this lesson in many other households in his advent, and it is due to the force of his love and awakening that we see that gradually such prejudices are getting wiped out in the coming generations. The force of tradition is tremendous, and Baba has to work and spend his time and energy to make us free of these false traditions and ideas of purity. He is gradually awakening this realization in mankind that it is the purity of heart that really counts. I will tell one more small anecdote about beloved Baba for his lovers all over the world and which relates to my mother. This happened in Mehrabad in 1958. Baba was then in seclusion and was on fast for his universal work. He had sent a circular to all his 1,000 lovers about a spiritual event which was to occur. In the circular, Baba had asked each of them to reply back that they will continue to repose trust in him in spite of everything. Every day, he used to read the replies received from his lovers patiently for 5-6 hours, sometimes even skipping lunch. And in the night, he used to remember specific names of his lovers, and Bhauji had to make a list of such names and send a circular again to them so that they could reaffirm their trust in Baba. Sometimes Baba used to spend hours in the night to remember the names of his various lovers from different parts of the world. Bhauji remembers distinctly that one night he remembered Asha's name and asked Bhau to send her this circular. Bhauji told him, Baba, that the circular was already gone and the head of the family, that is Nana Kher, but Baba insisted that circular be sent separately to Asha Kher. Like this, on many nights, Baba used to remember his lovers for hours together, and these names were then listed and separate letters had to be sent to these lovers the next day. Bhauji had a thought once that Baba is doing this to pass the time of the night, as he is unable to sleep due to the pain he was suffering post his second accident. Baba used to be conscious of even such unspoken thoughts of the Mandali and explained to Bhauji very patiently, do not think it is my pastime. What do you think I have come on this earth for? I come to remember the love of my lovers, just as they remember me, so also I remember them. This is part of my universal work, and do not think it is something I do to just pass the time of the night. The above two incidences are there in Lord Meher. After Baba dropped his body, Bhauji had several internal awakenings in which Baba reminded him of some important facets of his spiritual work. In these awakenings also, the incident involving my mother is mentioned. This shows that these have significance beyond the personality of my mother and are a means of his message of awakening to humanity. Our family is fortunate to have unconsciously become a means of and a vehicle for Baba's message. I will now relate one more incident involving Nanaji, my uncle, and conclude this talk, which has to end now due to the limitation of time. My uncle Nanaji would often think of his missed opportunity to be permanently with Baba. Meher Baba is all-knowing, and hence he gave plenty of opportunities to Nanaji so that he felt as one of the Mandali. During one Sahwas program, Baba praised Nanaji's service in Baba's cause by introducing him to various language groups. As Baba said, he is Nana Kher, he is one of my silent workers. On another occasion, Baba made a mention of his name and his Mandali as his Mandali. Baba also called Nanaji to him for any and every occasion. After late 50s and throughout 60s, Baba had instructed Nanaji to be with him for 3 summer months at Guru Prasad. Nanaji availed of this opportunity and never missed his yearly Guru Prasad stay, even for an important occasion. I will briefly mention one such important occasion that was of the wedding of my sister Veena. The wedding was planned at Nagpur during May 1968. A big function was planned after many years in Kher family, and naturally my grandparents and parents felt that Nanaji should be present at least for few days. Nanaji informed Baba about the wedding of our sister Veena, but he never asked Baba the permission to attend the wedding. However, Baba, one day prior to the wedding, Baba asked our uncle about the ceremony that is performed at our end. When Nanaji told him that one of the ceremonies is Mangalashtakas are recited and all present bless the couple by showering Akshata. Akshata is raw rice, colored rice, which the present people present over there shower at the newlywed couple. He asked Nanaji to recite this Mangalashtaka, and that particular time, beloved Baba himself blessed the couple by throwing Akshata as his blessings. A party was also arranged at Guru Prasad. Coming back to Nanaji, one night in August 1967, Bauji was on night watch at Mehrazad. Suddenly Baba asked Bauji, "Who is your best friend?" To this question, Bauji replied unhesitatingly, Nana Kher, as their friendship dated back to his college days when he had spent time in Meher Bhavan with Nanaji before Bauji joined Baba as a resident Mandali. Baba asked, "Do you feel lonely without him?" At this time, Baba was in strict seclusion and was not meeting anybody. Bauji replied in the affirmative. Then Baba asked Bauji to send a telegram to Nana to come to Mehrazad for a stay of 1 month. Bauji was highly surprised by Baba's instruction and said to Baba, "Baba, how it is possible since you are in strict seclusion and you are not allowing any outside lovers?" Baba told him not to worry and insisted on sending the telegram to Nanaji on the next day. Baba also insisted that two of them should do all activities together during the next month, except when Bauji was on night watch. Baba further said that Nana will also do the night watch for 3 hours every night. Nanaji was accordingly given the opportunity to be with Baba as a resident Mandali at Mehrazad for 1 month and also share in the night watch duty. Look at Baba's timings. My grandfather was unwell in 1968 and expired in November 1968. Baba also dropped his body on 31st January 1969. Baba wanted Nanaji to give his savas for a month and be in Mehrazad for the duration as his resident Mandali member and also share the night watch. All these things Nanaji had cherished. Baba wanted to give him while he was still in the body. This was the preparation for Nanaji's long stay at Meherabad from 1969 to 1999 when he died as a caretaker to the Avatar Samadhi. All these 30 years, Nanaji was unstintingly in his duty and welcomed countless Baba lovers as they approached beloved Baba's Samadhi. Those early years after Baba dropped body were very critical for thousands of first-time Baba lovers who had never seen Baba in the body. At this time, all the resident Mandali were at Mehrazad and gave their love and guidance to these newcomers who were mostly young. Baba posted 5 of his own, Padri Kaka, Muhammad Mast, Mansari Bai, Nana Kher and Jangli Master at Meherabad to welcome these youngsters in the orbit of Baba's presence. Many of them still tell us the sweet memories of their visit to Samadhi and of hours spent with Nanaji when he explained to them about the various aspects of Baba's life and message. To them, Nanaji always stressed on the importance of Namasmaran and service. At the end of the talk, I would like to mention that due to the penance done by Nanaji and due to the guidance of my parents, we children, myself, elder sister and younger brother, all had the opportunity to have Baba's darshan at Guru Prasad. We all have received his love and guidance and also our spouses and children. Our spouses were not from Baba families. But in the fullness of time, all of them and also our in-laws have also been introduced in the loving net of his love and protection and also have been blessed with their own Baba experiences. When Baba accepted one in his fold, She accepts each and every member of the extended family. However, it takes time and patience. So, if your children and spouses are not yet apparently drawn to Baba, don't worry. In the fullness of time, Baba will make his appearance in their hearts. This is what he has come for, and his manifestation is happening and will continue to happen. With this, I end my talk. Thank you and Jai Baba.